And so, yes, we did a session on balance, and as it's spring, and in the it's spring season, and it's a month of April, and the spiritual significance of this month of April is balance. And so, last week we were talking about what is balance and that point of balance, and very many wonderful things came up in the session, right? When we were learning about balance, and the subject has such depth to it, and I was still churning, and there are wonderful, wonderful aspects of balance that we need to practice. So we can also say, like, there are spiritual tools in our life to maintain that point of balance. And so, not one more or not one less, and that's what balance means, both in such equality to virtues or to state of um, say being or attitude that we are maintaining in such an equality. So we'll just go back to a few slides where we what we spoke last time and where we have ended, and let's do a beginning again for today. Uh, So, in the last session, we were talking about this balance aspect and how, for anything to balance, that fulcrum is needed, which is the point of stability. And that point of stability to identify in ourself is the soul, I, the soul. And when I center myself, everything actually falls into place. And so, yes, centering the point, I become more strong. There is strength to carry whatever weight that life gives to me. And so many times we are confused about so many extremes. Either we are in this extreme or that extreme. Either sometimes we are too loving or sometimes we are too detached. And so we are always juggling with, different extremes in our lives, and trying to find that point of balance. Where can I balance so that life goes well? And so the power of balance is very much connected to the intellect. And so, yes, it develops my power of discernment. So, balance means having that discernment where I know what is right and when to do what and how much to do and where is that point of balance. So, it develops that power of discernment in the soul. And yes, sometimes we say it's work that's creating too much of stress, and then but it's actually not coming from that work, but somewhere I am actually forgotten to balance my own self. It's somewhere I have lost that touch, to get in touch with my own self. I've neglected a part of my life, an area of part of my life, which is actually creating that sort of disturbance. Can you all hear me clear, or is the voice breaking up? Okay, good. Very good. So yes, so we have to learn to balance, our responsibilities and also priorities. And so we started to discuss about what are our priorities. And so in the last session, very powerfully, this aspect stood up, that the point of balance is the soul, and my first priority is to take care of myself, to create the center of balance, that stability and that peace of mind, within. And if that is shaking, then everything actually shakes. It's a soul who needs to be powerful. It's a soul that I need to take care of myself, the being, in such a way that I have the strength to carry on any load that life gives me. I have the strength to cope with anything that's coming around me. But many times we try and juggle to fix what's out there, but we absolutely forget and give time, very, very less time to ourselves. And so, where we lack that internal strength, the strength of the soul, and everything starts to collapse. So that's definitely my first priority. And then comes definitely my relationships, how I'm going to handle my relationship, the time that I give, and I stay respectful to my relationships. Then comes work. And so sometimes we become too workaholic, and too much workaholic, and I think that is like alcohol, getting addicted. So yes, and so it's we become so workaholic that we forget to give time to ourselves and relationship. And then my work also doesn't actually, I don't give the best shot even to my work, because I'm not in the right state of mind. And so, yes, work can be done, and that comes from cooperation. If my relationships are good, then I naturally get cooperation to accomplish my tasks. So it becomes important that priority is me. And when I am in a state of self esteem, I'm able to actually give respect to my relationships and where the work can be done. Sometimes we become too aggressive about the work getting done, and everything gets destroyed. Um, and also, we were talking about this right balance, having that right balance, not too much. And even if we have a little extremes or a little imbalance, life will always pull us or push us. Hey, you're going wrong somewhere. You need to be in this balance, because we will start to experience such things, um, such slight disturbances which comes from imbalance. And so life puts us back. So it's not about how much load I carry, but how I carry is the most important thing. And that's what is actually balance. And so then we started to talk about like how, you know, this in the wonders that are shown, as an art form, how people carry, you know, themselves on this rope. We were talking about the tight rope, and you have to be so steady and focused. And if you look even here and there are chances of falling. And so even in life, I have to keep going. My focus has to be towards my destination, and not towards the side scenes of life. And if I get into the side scenes, then it's very easy to fall. And so, yes, it's about complementing, to the two extremes, meaning using the two extremes in my life at the same point, not compensating, that I use this and I throw away this, like the aspect of work we were talking about in the last session, that I go too much into work and then I neglect something which is very important. So that is still not the balance, and can have a uh, um, incorrect effect, or taking my energy down. So how can we find that point of balance? And so we spoke about one of the aspects. So from here we can definitely start. So one of the aspects to create that balance is to be a teacher of my own self. We love to be teacher for others. We love to teach others, what others are doing or not doing, and how to fix them, what is the right thing for them to do. These are always things that are going on in our mind, and how the time should behave, or how people should be behaving, or the situation should be in my life. All these things we are always trying to fix. But again, coming back to the self is the most important thing. And so be your own teacher to create that balance. I have to teach my own self. Even we can sit every Thursdays, we do these sessions every single day. I may be sitting, I may be learning this, I may be learning that, but then I may be listening to so many aspects, but if I'm not actually putting into practice being my own teacher, then whatever I'm listening is actually no point. And so before even I become a teacher uh, for others, I have to become teacher for my own self, which also means becoming a good student. Actually, a good student can be a good teacher. If I cannot do for my own self, if I'm not doing for my own sake, then there is no point telling others. So there is no power either, right? So creating that balance means each time I'm teaching myself what is the right way of doing things, where is that balance, in which direction am I going? So every time that correction aspects. So we started with this powerful aspect of meditation as one of the tools to balance ourselves in the last session. So yes, taking that time out for the silence is very important, where I'm giving that time for silence, because that silence is actually creating a very powerful aspect of balance, that is love and detachment. Because in meditation, the first and foremost aspect you are learning is to actually detach, step back. What are you detaching from in meditation, or when you're sitting for a contemplation in silence? What are you detaching? You're detaching from everything, that external things that pull you, right? There are so many things. Our mind is occupied each single moment. So this meditation is allowing us, the contemplation or reflections are allowing me to actually withdraw my mind from all the aspects that I'm always thinking about, and which keeps weakening my intellect. And when the intellect is weak, then I don't know where is the center point. Either I'm running too much to do this, or I'm running too much to do that. Too much to be like this, or too much to be like that. So every time I'm giving some time to actually pause, to have some meditation, to have some reflection. In this process, I am creating a space of stability, a state of stability internally. And so meditation is not run here, run there, this thought, that thought. No. It's like you're holding a thought and you're stabilizing in that thought. And there is so much power and enjoyment. We do something called traffic controls during the day a few times. And so those traffic control minutes are like 3 minutes. And so just this morning, somebody was asking, what should I do during traffic control? And I was telling them, there are so many things that you can do. But the most important thing is, even you take one thought and you stabilize. And that's our problem. We don't know how to stabilize. We're running. You see how much, when you sit in meditation, how long can you stabilize yourself? 1 minute or few seconds? So the more I'm able to stabilize in one thought and become deeply peaceful or powerful, that powerful is my mind, the soul. But the more I'm jumping off track, I'm going into the side scenes of life, and somewhere my attention is, that weak is my mind. It doesn't have any capacity to hold. So that's why it's so important that we do some meditations or reflections or affirmations every single day, because you're learning to withdraw your mind from external sources. And that's very much needed. Because only when I withdraw, I have the power to be loving and detached. And so balance in so many aspects, we need balance in so many aspects which we are lacking today. We are either staying in this extreme or that extreme. So let's see how many we can cover in today's session. A few we can cover, and then we can always do in the next session. We can continue in the next session. So one of the powerful balance one needs in life is actually love and detachment. Everything comes from the detachment. As I was sharing, okay, I started with this. Uh, okay, okay, we'll get to the second one. But yes, that love and detachment. So I need to be that embodiment of, love. Everything actually falls into these two things in life, you know, either with yourself, uh, with the things around you, with people around you. This is a very, very fine balance of loving and detachment. So it's like you love yourself and you care for yourself, and you're protecting yourself, you're allowing yourself to grow. At the same time, you're creating a sense of detachment to check yourself and change yourself as well, you know. So that sort of detachment isn't there. If I'm not a detached observer, I don't know how to actually check myself. I only love myself. Even if someone else says, hey, you need to, this is not going right, this you need to change, immediately what happens? I get angry towards them. How can you correct me? I'm perfect, I'm this. Okay, I have love towards my wonderful qualities. At the same time, when something is not right, I need to be a detached observer, and I need to learn to check myself. I need to know when to correct myself, to check myself. So sense of detachment is needed, towards my own self as well. And as I said, a sense of detachment is needed, love and detachment to my relationships too. And so there is love, so that balance, not too much attached to someone and not too much detached. And this is what happens, right? If I have love towards someone, I want to spend all my time towards them. Without you, I cannot be, and this and that. And if something little happens because I got so attached to that person, even they do little bit something wrong, then I cannot take it. And I take so much of sorrow in that, from that relationship. So really, spirituality teaches us this first balance of loving and detachment. Have love, but at the same time be a detached observer. you know Not attachment. It's not attachment and detachment. No. When you're attached to something, then there is just, um, downfall. Actually, it's sorrow, experiencing sorrow. Whenever I'm attached to any relationship too much, then it creates a lot of sorrow inside. So understand this first balance of being loving and detached towards yourself, towards your relationships too. You have that love, you have that respect, but you also know when to actually step back and be in your independence. Don't have so much of attachment to someone that you start to break yourself. Mm. Have that independence, uh, because that's the reality of life. If you see, that's the reality of life. We all have individual journeys, we all together, but yet at the same time, we are all have our own individual journeys. No, and we never know when our journey actually comes to a pause with the circle that I am in right now. When my journey will actually continue to the next, and it can happen suddenly. Mhm. So make yourself, you be your first, your best friend, your, so be connected to yourself so closely that you know when to be loving and when to be detached. So experiencing that spiritual independence is also very, very important. I shouldn't go in any relationship to an extreme that I feel that I cannot be without this one, because everyone has their individual journeys and parts to play. Everyone has their own individual nature and sanskars. So, this aspect of loving and detachment is absolutely important. When I have this loving and love and detachment, then I am in that center point and I know how to actually maintain relationship with myself. I know how to maintain that relationship with others and also with the time and things. And so, love and detachment, one of the most powerful aspects. So, think about it as you're listening. Think about it. What were some of the moments you've experienced where you completely became subservient, you know, to your own senses sometimes, or to others, that you lost your balance and which created an upheaval. So it's very, 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 very subtle balance. And because it is subtle, we call it as a point of balance. It's a very subtle point of balance. So I have to bring it back to that point of balance, this love and detachment. And so if you ask me, now how can I actually understand where to actually, bring that point of balance? Go back to the slide before, go back to the practice before we were talking about. That happens only when I have that power of silence. If that sort of meditation, that care, self-care, that self-reflection isn't there, then I don't know where to balance. Got it? All of this balance, these tools I can use when the first spiritual tool when I practice, that is internally grounding myself, knowing myself very well, grounding myself very well, giving time to myself. That actually helps me to bring all these points in balance. So, one other important and powerful balance we learn is love and power, or you can say love and law. And so, love and power is also two powerful aspects. And so, one of the beautiful example of this love and power or love and law is a balance of a Shakti form. Like, say, in Eastern tradition, actually, they have these beautiful idols of goddesses. And when you look at the idols of goddesses, you can see like their eyes are such, their face and their eyes are, when you look at them, you feel that compassion. When you look at their face, the Shakti's face, you can feel that love from emerging from her eyes. But when you look at her arms represents actions. Now the eyes and face represents the love. But when you look at her arms, she's actually carrying weapons. So what is that? Her face is full of love, and you look at her face and you're completely lost in those eyes. You're mesmerized. You feel she's there for you. She's this embodiment who is there to bestow those blessings or that love towards you. But when you look at her arms, she's holding on to these weapons of sword and all kinds of things. So it's actually a representation. It's not that physically she's holding all these weapons, but it's a representation of her state of being. And that state of being is that she has this balance of love and also absolute power. She's like a Shakti. When she has to use her powers of courage or to finish something that is unnecessary and waste or negative, she's ready to finish. And something that she wants to sustain, she will use her power of love to sustain. So she would use the power of love to sustain something that is nurturing her, that is helping her to move forward. But something that is waste or negative or a weakness, She becomes a power, she becomes a Shakti, and she finishes. So, in her actions, in her being, she is having the power of love and the power of and this power to transform or to finish something. And so one needs to also in life, we all have to have this power of love and power, this balance of love and power. So I have love, but at the same time I have power too. So which also can be called as love and law for the external sources. So say in my relationships, it's always important to have love and law. Sometimes it's needed, meaning law doesn't mean that you're beating someone up. No, that's not what it means. Love and law also again stands for love and detachment. So where you need to have love, you have love, but where you need to have firmness, you have firmness. You're firm about something. Just say for example a relationship of a parent and a child, right? In parent and a child, like parents have a lot of love for children, but that love should not actually um, make them weak. That love should not make them mischievous, right? But at the same time, parents have certain law. When they have to be firm with children, when they have to correct them, they do correct. When they have to advise them something which they don't feel it's going right, they advise them. So this is what is love and law. Again, in relationships, if there is no love and law, then I take a lot of sorrow. Then I don't know. Sometimes I'm too loveful, and then that's creating, imbalance. The child is not listening, and becoming too mischievous, and and then sometimes relationship, as we were talking about, this dependency aspect can come. And then over sometimes I'm too lawful, I'm too strict to children. Not this, not like that, don't sit here, don't this, don't do this, don't do that. In relationships, if you are too much lawful also, it'll break. If we go too much of extreme of all the time taking law into my hands, not this way, not that way, then no relationship will continue, because the other person will feel suffocated in that relationship. So the balance of these two aspects are absolutely necessary, love and law. I need to have that law, love, and when I feel something is not going right, I should be able to share that. So again, this balance I can find when I actually come back to my first priority of stabilizing myself. And the more I stabilize myself, I am that Shakti form. I am that Shakti form where I have the love and power in balance, love and law in balance, right? So another aspect of this balance is praise and defamation. A very important aspect again. How many of us can balance these two? When someone praises, it's not that I would go and sit on the tree, oh wow, look at me, overexcited. Oh, and the next moment they push me down the tree, and then I fall down and break my bones. And I dislike them to such an extent that I don't even want to be around them. I don't want to think about them. I don't want to speak about them. No. So, spirituality actually teaches us this is another point of balance. Have balance in praise and defamation. Don't become too excited when somebody says something that, oh, and then somewhere my two horns come out, and then I get too happy about it too much. And then when they dislike or they correct me, then I'm like feeling defamed. Oh, how dare you correct me, I'm so perfect, why are you correcting me, and I don't want to listen to them. And so this balance, is, uh, it's very powerful. It's very powerful. It's one of the balance. All these balances are, of course, the of a yogi life, you know, of a yogi life. And so this is one of the balance which we don't really pay attention to. And so there is also another saying, Ninda jo hamari kare mitra hamara, so something like that, which means like, if someone even defames you, you know, that consider that one as your friend. And so how much of power I need to have internally, to consider someone as my friend who defames me, you know. Why? Why someone who defames is my friend? Because they're always helping me to correct. Like they're pointing or something, like, that means somewhere I still have a button. So they're pushing, they're showing, you still have to, I have to let go of these buttons. And so this praise and, being, it's a nice saying in Hindi. It's called, let me try to get that. Ninda, Stiti, Man, Apman, Me, Saman, they say. Like, even if someone defames you, don't become too disheartened. In defamation, in praise, in respect and disrespect, be equal. Don't go into two extremes. Then it's like I'm becoming too depressed, right? If something goes wrong. Okay, if someone praised, wonderful. I become a detached observer. And what do I do if someone prays? It's also one of the good, practices that when someone is offering me this praise, I'm actually giving it to him. Because even if someone praises me for something, where that skill or where that talent or whatever is coming from, it's God's given. So I would offer, because it's God's given, I would offer this praise back to him. So I'm not saying that, if say somebody is appreciating you, no, 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 don't appreciate. I don't want to take it. No, no, don't be. Not. It's not that, but it's a state of balance that we are talking. Internally you're so matured. Okay, thank you. You acknowledge also because they're praised. You're not like discarding them. No, but acknowledging. Thank you very much. That's a beautiful blessing. Yes, you know. But then I offer it back to him. And when someone defames, okay, detach observer, and I check myself. Do I really have for what they're defaming me? Yes, I have. Okay, I need to fix this. One thing I'll tell you, if I really have something inside me and somebody is defaming me, then I would actually feel sorrow. But if I don't have something inside me and then they're defaming, it doesn't affect me. Got it? Yeah, because I know myself very well. It doesn't affect me. So if I'm feeling that sorrow of somebody defaming me, that means I have it. I have to transform it. And so again, don't, because they said something, if we dislike, we never know when, you know, we never know, like, when we would need someone in life, when we dislike and push away someone, or we don't know their journey. We don't have to dislike, or I'm not saying we have to, you know, be a detached observer, be in that balance. Yes, the next aspect of balance, again, very much connected, that is connection and correction. A balance of connection and correction. So, in order to correct myself, I need to have that constant stage of detachment, which we were talking before. If I'm not a detached observer, I cannot correct myself. And to correct myself, I need to have that proper connection. So, what is this connection and correction? So, we have connection to our own self. So, we have connection to ourself, we have connection with God, and we have connection with people. And all these three have to stay in the line of code of conduct. But if I miss that balance, then somewhere something will go wrong. So, connection. So, we spoke a lot about connecting to ourselves, right? In which, when I'm connecting to myself, I have the power to also correct myself. If something is not right, with the power of detachment, I'm able to see, I'm able to, that's why it's called check and change. Keep checking yourself, changing yourself. So, this connection with the self I need and with God, very important. Have that connection with God. You know, don't neglect that connection. It's the most beautiful connection one can experience with God, the source, most beautiful one. And that powerful energy that flows into the soul, and the soul gets um, all beautiful. So all that the soul wants is on that connection with God. So check yourself, how much time do you give to this connection? Mhm. Because then he gives the power for me to correct, right? So what would be the correction, the connection and correction with God? So sometimes when I'm sitting to remember him, and I'm not able to remember, I'm not able to have that connection. So connection is what? It's a very subtle aspect. When you connect two things, when you connect two wires, even slightly the wire is off, then I'm not experiencing that flow, right? The current isn't flowing. And so a connection with God is like experiencing that current. And when I receive that current, uh, what happens? It's like whatever impurity or whatever which is incorrect starts to become correct inside me. And whatever that is impure inside me will be thrown out. It's just like when we get a little current shock. 1 second of current shock is enough. What happens? Immediately you bounce back, right? Your finger goes off the switch. Like instantly it goes off the switch. That powerful is current, right? And so when I have the connection with God, I'm experiencing that current from him that helps me to correct myself, fix myself. That current is helping me to throw out things that I don't need inside me. It's cutting off those weeds. It's, finishing that impurities. So every time there is a transformation which with this connection. So it's important not on a surface level that I connect with God, but when I connect, experience that current flowing from him. And the third connection, that is with people around, with my relationships. So the moment I'm experiencing any kind of disturbance in a relationship, in a connection with people, then that means I need a correction. Somewhere something is not going. Become a detached observer and check why there is a disturbance in this relationship, in this connection. Right? So I have to make that correction. So something, say sometimes, between friends also there will be some sort of argument, like silly argument, and then that argument goes on and then we stop talking to each other. Silly things. Okay, then that's where I have to check, okay, what is that correction I can make here? Was I too egoistic in the way I spoke? Or was I too headstrong about this? Or, okay, everything is fine. From my end, I felt fine. Okay. So it's like making a correction so that the connection goes well. So again, this balance of connection and correction. So connection with myself and correcting myself, connection with God and taking that current to correct things, and connection with others and making those little corrections if I'm experiencing any kind of upheaval or disturbance in a relationship. So another aspect of balance is dharma and karma. Very powerful aspect. Dharma and karma. So dharma means my principles, my spiritual principles, which also means my inculcation, my practice of my spiritual, my principles. And karma means actions. So the one who has the balance of karma and dharma actually brings these two powers or these two aspects together, meaning cooperation of these two. So my actions are together with dharma, meaning my actions are based on spiritual principles. If I perform any action breaking my spiritual principle, then it'll again adversely affect me. I go downward spiral. So never compromise in your karma, your dharma. Dharma means your spiritual principles. When I'm saying spiritual principles, there are certain set of principles that we all create, right? This is the way I want to speak. This is the way I want to do. This is the things I want to eat. This is the way I want to keep my attitude. There are a set of principles that, that are important to follow in life to be an elevated person. So that should go hand in hand with my karma. I should not. So dharma should never get merged in karma, meaning dharma should not get lost. Now, dharma in translation, uh, a literal translation of dharma is religion. I'm not talking about the external religion, which we call religion as, right, like Hindu, Muslim, or Christian. I'm not talking about the labels of that dharma. I'm not talking about the labels. I'm talking about dharma always means your inculcation. Dharma is not a title. Dharma always means your dharna. Dharna means your inculcation. What am I practicing is my dharma. So practice meaning all this, what the soul is actually doing. That is very important. So don't compromise your spiritual principles when you come into connection with anyone or in your karma. It's okay, I'm with my set of friends. It's okay, let me break this dharma and just do it. Then somewhere I've lost it. Many times it happens when we are with people, we think what people are going to think. And so let me act like them, let me behave like them, let me be like them. But then I'm compromising my principles. No. No matter with who you are, always hold on to your principles because your principles are your protection. Your principles are your strength. And when you follow your principles, no matter what, tomorrow people will turn around, they'll say, wow, you never broke your principle. You never broke your karma. You never compromise and say, it's okay, I can behave this way. Sometimes it also happens in relationships that, we miss out this balance. Oh, I have to give time to this person. And we give so much time that we balance out our meditation or whatever it is. And somewhere disturbance will happen. So my dharma is like, okay, waking up, giving some time myself, having that churning time for myself. That I'm giving up. I broke my principle. And so having that imbalance will always create disturbance. So balance always means both in equality, that we know. One should not be merged because of the other. Both should be visible. In my actions, my dharma should be visible. In my dharma, my karma is there. So when a soul has a perfect balance of dharma and karma, that soul is called a dharmatma. Meaning, dharmatma meaning a soul who actually follows the true principles. I remember many years ago, of course, when I was my university, I used to be with all my friends, but yet at the same time, I knew where my line of balance was, my point of balance was. I know how much to interact and how much to, stay detached. And I remember like when the last year of university, when we finished it and the last day we were saying goodbye to everyone, each other. One of my classmate, one of my friends, she came and she said, Madhvi, I've always observed that, you never actually, though you were with all of us, you always maintain what you have to do. You never actually forgot your set of principles because you are with us. You never compromise. So I thought, people actually notice and observe. And then when we follow that, we are actually setting an example or, helping others also to do that as well. So, as we were talking in our last session also about this balance is an aspect of intellect. And so, when I create this balance in the intellect, an intellect which has absolute balance, is called an elevated intellect or a divine intellect or a sharp intellect. My intellect is so pure, like a swan, which only picks up the right things. The swan, they say a swan has a perfect discernment. So it's like my intellect acts as that accurate balance, a sharp intellect, a divine intellect. So check yourself, your intellect. Does it keep, like Mercury shifting from this end to that end, or does it stay, absolutely, even that balance, right? The center, the scale, we're talking about the scale. You see the center point, it's so aligned. It's absolutely, accurate like that, the intellect. But how this intellect can become divine and elevated is again going back to the first practice of giving time to myself, meditating, connection with myself, connection with God. These are the aspects that make the intellect divine, sharp. So, yes, anything that is extreme is not good. Anything I do overly will fall. Right? So, anything that is extreme is not good. When something goes into its extreme, it is called a storm. Then I have to face it. I have to face that storm at the end of the day. So balance it to yourself. Are you becoming too much, into anything in your relationships, in your connections? Start to create that balance. Don't do anything too much extreme. In the same way, like we'll come to, different aspects more. Many more aspects are there which we can cover in the next session. But also, like, when it comes to meditation, also it's a balance. It's a balance of taking care of your body and also taking care of the soul. It's not that you have to every day, whole time, you have to 24 by 7 only sit and meditate. No, no. You have to have, other things to do. You have to give that time for your body too, to relax, to sleep. If you don't have a good sleep, you can't have good yoga. How can your body function if you don't have good sleep? Then you will be sitting in meditation and all you doing is falling asleep. So there are so many balances that we need to learn, even in terms of the body and soul, that the way they work. So, of course, we'll be discussing that in our future classes. But there is another balance that we have to also learn and practice is humor and seriousness. Oh, both also should be in balance. I need to know when I have to be humorous. I need to know when I should be serious, right? It's not that if I'm too serious, people will run away from me. Oh, this one is always serious. Like the way I look at them, they're like, right? They'll get scared. They'll run away. If I'm too much straight, too much serious, it's not good. And I need to be a balance of humor. Not every time. Too much also humorous is not good. Then sometimes I don't know, maybe I'm making a joke at a wrong time that can hurt people. I'm saying something because I feel I'm too humorous, then, I'm saying things at the wrong time. Then others may feel offended. They may feel like, what is this? You're not doing right. Like, then I would say, oh no, it's just a joke. I just said it. No. But then you already hurt someone. So you shouldn't be like, too much humorous, always, laughing, always. No. So there has to be certain seriousness too. Like say for example, during, you're studying something, education, you don't take there as a humor. There are certain things when you're learning certain important things, there has to be certain seriousness. There has to be certain discipline. Uh, at school, if you're always laughing and then teacher will say, what's wrong with you? There has to be certain studiousness, certain discipline, certain decency. And so this balance is also important. Yeah. And in the same way, not being too serious. Like every time you're trying to correct someone, every time you are like, your face is as if, as if you're holding on to so much of burden on you. No. A balance. A yogi means a balance of humor, a balance of seriousness. Seriousness, you can also say like maturity, right? So both. So which is also called as introverted and extroverted. So I need to know when I should go into silence, being introverted. When I should not say something, I have to hold myself quiet, go inwards, become silent. Now it's not your time to say, or it's time for you to meditate, go inwards, silence, or it's time for you to take some solitude. Not always be with people, people, people. No. Sometimes you have to take some time out also to be quiet and not too extreme of extroverted. I don't know how to be silent. I'm always talking, talking, talking. Or I'm always, out there with people because I don't know how to connect. There is fear to be silent and to connect to myself. So that's why I want to fill that void with somebody or the other. Always, I need somebody or the other to talk to, or somebody or the other. No. So that sort of balance also have to create introverted and extroverted. I need to know when to be silent. No, introverted doesn't mean isolated. You're not isolating yourself. So sometimes people completely isolate or too much into people. And again, they get disturbed, again, they become isolated. No. So there's this sort of balance also have to create. How much I need to be, how much I need to be silent. Okay, I have interacted, I've spent this time. Now, okay, let me take some solitude. So this sort of introversion and extroversion balance, a yogi is able to balance these two aspects very well. And these all come, you know, we're able to balance when we actually go back to that seed of taking time, the first priority of meditating or giving that time to myself. So there are many more aspects. These are some of the aspects which we'll do in our next session. There are so many like child, master and child, yoga and karma. All of these aspects are there. Still, we need to discuss, which we'll be doing in our next session. Because as of now, today we've covered a lot. So, yes. So, so much to study, so much to practice, right? So, any thoughts?
A lot of thoughts. Thank you. I just wanted to say, we covered this last class, and then there's so many more. It's kind of amazing, right? Because like when you ask someone what's balance, everyone's like work and personal life,
Yeah.
or like me and family. And it's like we could literally, like you said, every single thing in the world is duality, right? Every single thing. So, taking time for ourselves to go into so many topics, it's amazing that we don't do it that much, right? And then it's always like we're out of balance, like we're outside too much, being too extroverted, and then we go the other way, like, oh no, now I'm going to stay inside for a week, and then so there's so much constant. So I mean, I think, reflecting on it and seeing how deep the subject is, how many, like literally everything, every aspect of us, everything around us, every relationship, how we have to keep kind of finding that fulcrum.
Mm.
So this was good. I took a lot of notes, and I'm just like, everything you said, I can see myself like, ooh, whoop, whoop. So it's like coming back to that silent point, coming back to ourselves, to balance. So thank you so much.
Of course, of course. Thank you, Gabby. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. It's again, you see, it's just a tiny point. You remember last week we watched a video in which she was talking about balancing the stones, and she was saying that it's just that point that she needs to find. Like the moment she finds that point, the stone just stands still. And so, but she said that process is where she has to go into that silence and concentration. Only then she can find that point. And so, yes, giving more time for our meditation, giving more time to ourselves can help us to create those balances.
Yeah. And also, with the stones and the one point, she also said then sometimes then they fall, right? So sometimes we think we found the point and like we're done, but no, it's like we have to continue to, teach ourselves, continue to come back and do the work, because yeah, you find the point and then the stones fall over, right?
Yeah,
A storm comes by.
yeah, that's true. That's true. It's a regular thing that I have to keep doing. Yeah.
Om Shanti Madhavi. I
Oh,
like the one point is dharma and karma.
right.
Very balanced point because I work in the government and the sometimes I have to process the millions of dollar change order or the payment, and I never compromise my principle,
Mm,
no matter what. So sometimes they take me to the big like a ONB office and a budget director and all my bosses in front of me
mm,
and complain about me, she taking a lot of time. But the budget director told that leave her alone, she doing excellent job. And from that onward, millions of dollar payment come in my hand. It was just sometimes sleepless night because you are signing something.
mm,
But say I'm not going to. I never compromise. And now, as you say it, when you don't compromise your principle, I mean, you are highly respected by everybody. Like all the big government officer. Once my name came,
mm,
oh, she will never going to do something wrong. She will always be doing what is principle. One time I said, look, I'm leaving the job. I'm not going to sign something it's not right.
mm,
Like, sometimes your principle, it take a while. Sometimes you're isolated. They don't like you, but that's the part of it because minute you compromise it, then you lose your strength and ability and courage.
mhm.
Well, I really like your that dharma and karma. If you balance it, never compromise in even no matter how situation is bad for you. I'm always willing to walk out from the job. I say I'm not compromising it.
Mhm.
Whatever the, I think that also help you a lot. Like, but I don't know. You really touch so many point, unbelievable. And it all the point we can look at ourselves and reflecting our own way of life.
Mhm.
And this help us to revisit ourselves, rethink about ourselves, what changes we can make it,
Mhm.
which is we never, nobody help us to look at that way.
Mhm.
We read so many psychology book, this book, that book, but the way you put it, it just very, very different.
Mhm. Right.
Om Shanti.
Shanti, thank you for that. Anybody else would like to share anything? Hello, Fazida. Hello.
Hi, Om Shanti sister. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Wonderful to
Good.
see you.
I have a
Madbi.
I I have a question on meditation, right?
Mhm.
Like when you're meditating, like I really don't know what to do. My mind is like drifting, and then I'm thinking, oh, I should be listening to my breathing. So I don't really get meditation.
Hmm. So maybe one Monday I should take a session on meditation then. What thoughts do
Yeah,
you
I'm
take?
like, okay, I don't know. I'm closing my eyes, I really I don't know what I'm doing.
That is true. Many don't know
I
what
was
they're
thinking,
doing.
okay, I'm wiggling my hands, my toes, but I don't know where to go with it after
Yeah,
like a couple of minutes.
very good question. So yes, I think
Would be
people.
nice.
Sorry, go ahead.
That would be a nice topic on like how to meditate or what you should be
Sure.
doing during meditation.
Okay. So next session we can still do this. That either Monday also when I take sessions for you guys on Monday. So we can do one on Monday. Also next Thursday when we cover up the rest of the topics on balance. So we can give some time to learn what to meditate, how to meditate. What are the thoughts we need to create? It's a good question because
Yeah.
many don't know what to create in meditation. They think it's just sitting down or concentrating on your breathing, or no, it's about your journey of your thoughts. Creating. It's like a whole. You're entering a complete different world inside yourself, focusing on the soul, and you're just seeing your inner world, and you're seeing your inner world and experiencing what's in your inner world. But I'm not focusing on my weaknesses, but I'm focusing on the strengths that I have. I'm actually seeing and experiencing the blueprint, the original qualities of the soul, like peace, like love. But I need to actually help myself to stabilize in those experiences because originally and eternally, I, the soul, I am that embodiment of those qualities. And I think a couple of sessions ago, I was talking about this whole aspect of inwards, upwards, and outwards, and that's what is also the process of meditation. Inwards, you're going towards the soul. You're going to the soul, your own self, your qualities, and experiencing the powers and qualities you have. When you go upwards, you're connecting to the source, you're drawing that power, and outwards, you're giving that. But of course, this is in short, I said inwards, upwards, and outwards. But I'll definitely take another session to explain more clearly.
Thank you.
Sure.
Uh, Sister Madbi, could you share when are you doing that session in the chat, or
Definitely.
could you confirm it, please?
I will.
This-
As I said, let us just do it next week, rather than waiting. So next Thursday only I'll do. So as we finish the rest of the topics on balance, we'll give some time on meditation, and also maybe a complete different session, a separate session I'll take on meditation. I think for this
Yeah.
month we have certain topics already set for this month, but let's see how it goes. Yeah, but I'll definitely let you all know.
And thank you so much for today's session.
Sure. Okay. Wonderful. So thank you all for joining this evening. It's always wonderful to have all of you and this time together. And so we'll catch up soon. Om Shanti. Good night.
Om Shanti.
Thank you.